The Batman has finally hit the big screen, and it's directed by Matt Reeves and stars Robert Pattinson as the Caped Crusader himself, Batman. I gotta say, I think this was my most anticipated movie of the year because I am a huge Batman fan. So did it live up to the hype? Well, let's find out. So sit back, relax, grab some popcorn as I talk about The Batman. Jesus. How does he do that voice?
I got you! I got you!
The Batman takes place around Bruce's second year as the Caped Crusader, and has already started to make an impact on the city of Gotham. The crooks of Gotham fear him, most of the police don't trust him, but he does have some sort of a work friendship with Commissioner Gordon, who's played amazingly by Jeffrey Wright. But things start to go awry when a serial killer known as the Riddler is killing off the big powerful politicians of Gotham, while also exposing how corrupt the city truly is. So it's up to Batman to figure out what the Riddler's secret plans are, while also figuring out that maybe his family has some secrets of their own. Alright, so I'm just go ahead and say it. I truly love this movie. Is it the best Batman movie of all time? Well, I don't think I would go that far. But is it the best interpretation of Batman we've ever gotten on the big screen? Hell yes. And the reason why I think that is because in this movie you actually see Batman be the world's greatest detective. All the other Batman films had him do little to no detective work, but in this one, that's what he mainly does throughout the entire film. 95% of the time, the film is just Batman going around Gotham using his detective skills, solving the Riddler's puzzles. I honestly think it was a genius move to have the Riddler be the main antagonist because that gives the perfect setup for Batman to show that he really is the world's greatest detective. And Batman's character is very well crafted in this movie. He has this feeling that he really isn't making a difference in the city, but he feels like he needs to do everything in his power to keep the city safe. And that's what Batman is supposed to be. Someone who is willing to put everything in their power to protect others, even if it won't make a major difference. But what makes his character really shine is Robert Pattinson's performance. Holy shit, this is a phenomenal performance. I know a lot of people were worried when Warner Brothers announced that Robert Pattinson would be the role as Batman, but not me. After seeing his acting skills in The Lighthouse, I knew that the character of Batman was put in the right hands. And Pattinson perfectly interprets a Batman that's in his early years. When I was watching the movie, I didn't see a performance, I saw Batman. His performance truly is a sight to behold. In fact, all the acting is done very well here. Like I already said, Jeffrey Wright gives an excellent performance as the rugged Commissioner Gordon. And Zoe Kravitz does give a really good performance as well as she plays Catwoman. I really like what they did with Catwoman in this film. They didn't just make her a cat burglar. They actually gave her a strong reason for why she's fighting alongside Batman to take down the Riddler. In fact, her part of the story reminded me a bit of the Catwoman side quest in Batman Arkham City, which is easily some of the best stuff we've gotten for Catwoman in Batman media. Another great performance is Paul Dano as the Riddler. His performance definitely takes homage to the Zodiac Killer and the Killer from Seven. And just like Catwoman, I really love what they did with the Riddler here. The Riddler is one of my favorite Batman villains, and they adapted him perfectly. He is really creepy in this movie, but they also surprisingly made him a little silly like Jim Carrey's Riddler. Now it's not completely over the top, but it's similar to how Riddler acts in the comics. When you're watching the movie, you really see how menacing the Riddler is and how dangerous he can be to the city if Batman doesn't take him down quick. But the biggest surprise of all for me in this movie was Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Holy shit, this performance was brilliant. Never would I have expected this actor to play the Penguin. Not only is the makeup and effects they did on him on his face outstanding, but Colin's mannerisms and his accent he does for the character makes it seem like they ripped the Penguin straight out of the comics. There are some parts in the movie where he just definitely steals the show. And you can tell that Colin Farrell is having a blast playing the Penguin, and I can't wait to see more from this character in this series. So as you can see, acting wise, everybody did an outstanding job in this movie. Other things that stood out in this movie was the story and action set pieces. The story is a really engaging mystery that clearly takes homage from films like Seven and Zodiac. And I'm a sucker for detective stories, so that helped me engage more with the story's elements. And even though the movie is 3 hours long, it didn't feel like that at all. Everything is well paced and super engaging, and I was left wanting more. The director of this movie, Matt Reeves, also helped co-write this film, And if you don't know what he's worked on before, he also directed and co-wrote Dawn and Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which I think are two of the best films from the last decade. So he clearly has a lot of talent, and I can see that this is probably his most ambitious film yet. And here, Matt Reeves has directed some of the most stunning action set pieces I have seen in a while. They truly are a sight to behold, in particular a phenomenal car chase sequence between Batman and the Penguin, and all the effects look stunning as well. There wasn't one shot where I thought to myself, that looks a little off. Everything looked completely practical, and I wouldn't be surprised if most of the movie was just practical effects. In fact, the entire movie looks stunning as a whole. Everything from how the film looks with the lighting, the amazing shots of the city, to the way the camera moves during fight scenes. I highly recommend watching this film in IMAX if you get the chance. It's definitely worth it. I also love how alive the city of Gotham feels. Matt Reeves, in my opinion, has created the best version of Gotham that I have seen in a Batman film. In most other Batman movies, Gotham City looks like any other big city out there. But in the Batman, the city truly feels like its own unique place. It truly feels alive, from the underbelly streets to the luxury towers. And the movie is accompanied by a beautiful soundtrack. This is easily one of the best Batman soundtracks I have ever heard, and I know I'm going to be listening to it for months on end. If you don't know who the music was done by, it was done by Michael Giacchino, the same guy who did the soundtrack for Spider-Man No Way Home. So it's clear that this guy has a lot of talent and is here to stay for a long time. Alright, so I know I have gushed over this movie, as I should, because there is a lot to love here, but I do have some minor complaints, mainly having to do with the script. First example being is the ending. Now the ending isn't bad at all, but the film does rush at an awkward pace to wrap everything up. I know it sounds weird to say this because the movie is already 3 hours long, but I think 15 minutes should have been added to the film to help give it a better conclusion. And there's not really anything to take out of the film to give it those 15 minutes because every scene is so important to the story. The other gripe I have with the ending is that there is an inclusion of a small cameo of a certain character. Now I won't say who the character is, but I will say that the cameo seemed really unnecessary and kind of out of place. Another thing that seemed out of place was a certain piece of dialogue between Batman and Catwoman. And what I mean by that is, when you're watching the film, it's pretty clear what the message of the movie is about. But for some reason, the film includes this awkwardly placed piece of dialogue that is pretty much a wink to the audience saying, hey, here's what we're trying to tell here, here's the message of the story, and it was really distracting and really out of place. It's a scene where Batman and Catwoman are on a rooftop. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. But I do think the biggest complaint that I have in the movie is I don't think the Riddler's plans and motivations were completely well executed. Now I don't think it's awful, but I do feel like I could have been touched up a bit more to flesh it out more nicely. And like I said, they did an amazing job with the character of the Riddler. I just wish his motivations were stronger. I know these seem like a lot of complaints, but they definitely don't outshine how amazing the Batman really is. And in the end, I had an amazing time watching this movie. I'm definitely gonna go and see it again. Guys, if it wasn't clear enough, I really like this movie. I like so many things about this movie. I think it's one of the best Batman films ever made, and I highly recommend that you guys go out and watch it. And I'm gonna be giving The Batman an 8 out of 10. Guys, I thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't subscribed already, make sure to do so. It helps support the channel. And have you seen The Batman? What did you think about it? Make sure to write your thoughts in the comments down below. I hope you have a fantastic night, and take care.